Hola, senors and senoritas. Brad the Guitarologist here. In this video, we're going to take a look at this mystery gray box, drab, obviously late 60s, early 70s piece of solid state gear, which is an RCA Victor solid state dual speaker portable record player. Found this at one of our little local stores for $10 as is, and usually the as is part means this thing doesn't work, we have no idea what's wrong with it, and we don't fix stuff. So I plugged it in just to see what maybe was wrong with it. I probably wasn't going to buy it if the table didn't move at all or didn't hum, because that's usually an indication that the motor might be burnt up, and if the motor's burnt up, it's pretty much over. But it does plug in. Obviously, it plugs in. But I mean, when you plug it in, the motor does actually come on and spin just really slow and sluggishly. But there's no sound coming out of the needle. I can rub the needle and nothing comes out of the speaker. So this being a solid state one, you know, I don't know how worth it this is going to be. This is more or less a time waster. Alright, here's the outer case with the guts removed. There's a couple of codes here. I haven't a clue what they mean. They mean nothing to me. Model is what is this? Charcoal? I guess I would call this no, wait a minute. Charcoal's dark. Would this be blue? I don't know. It's either blue or charcoal. VJP16A is the blue. I'm guessing this is blue. This has got to be blue, surely. Charcoal would be like black or something, right? Yeah. Or is there like a variance of charcoal depending on where it comes from or what kind of treatment? I don't know. Hell. Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's the serial number. Means nothing to me. Obviously it's RCA, Indianapolis, Indiana. Just up the road. Here are the guts. Obviously it's got a nice big AC motor, so this should be able to work just fine. And when we lube this up, it is dual speaker, so they're not lying about that. Let's see what we got here code wise. It's 1967, 31st week. Right there. 274, 67, 31. And it should be the same on this one over here too. Yep. Here is the board. And it is, let's see, let's get a little more light down here. RCA made. Nice thick traces. I don't really see anything obviously burnt from here, but what is that? What's that little hole right there all about in the solder? Who knows? Who knows? I'll have to check that out. That's suspect number one. Let's look at the other side and see what that is. What is that? That's nothing. Okay, well that answers that question. That's nothing right there. Two big heat sinks on a couple of, I guess those are probably the output transistors right there. Two giant heat sinks on those. There's the top of the board. That capacitor is pretty much automatically suspect. That won't be the reason why it's not coming on at all. It could be a cartridge issue as well, I suppose. But I'm guessing it's kind of something, it's got to be something in here. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3 capacitors, a handful of resistors, and a volume knob, and 3 transistors. So not much to this thing at all. I don't even, do I even see that? There we go. There's the rectifier right there. So that'll be the first thing we test right there. We'll see what the voltages are coming off the rectifier. And my suspicion is that rectifier diode is probably dead. Alright, I'm measuring here after the diode, and I see 21 DC volts, so that's not the problem. Alright, I found the schematic for this thing on radiomuseum.org, and this is for several different models of RCA, the 12 series, 16 series, 88K series, yada yada. So, and there's the chassis number, and I was correct, RS225B, and also RS250A. That's the input right down there. The signal comes in. First place it goes is to the volume pot, and then it comes off the wiper and goes through 150K resistor, capacitor there, looks like a 1500 pico, and then up to our first gain stage. So what we're going to do basically is just measure all of the values going all the way through and check everything for continuity. So we'll come off that leg number 3 right there of that volume pot, check for continuity up here, just to make sure everything's continuous, nothing's getting grounded out, yada yada, you know the drill. But we're going to check all these components and just check all the way through. We may also see if we can inject a signal into this thing. Alright, I'm injecting that signal from my iPhone into the front end of this little lamp. And I'm definitely getting something, as you can hear. But it isn't very loud. It's not as loud as I would expect it to be. Alright, I've hooked the cartridge up directly to my amplifier back there, my little test amp, and I'm getting nothing at all out of this cartridge. And I actually looked up the old service manual and found, you know, a couple pages that were free. Of course, you can buy the service manual for like $22 or something online, but I wasn't going to do that. But I did find one page where it listed the specs, and it said that the specs on the cartridge were, this is supposed to be a crystal cartridge, and I just did not know that. I had assumed this would have been a magnetic cartridge, but this is crystal, so it puts out about 3 volts or so, and it is dead. I mean, stone dead. So my bad, I really should have checked this first. Alright, here's the cartridge out of the unit, and it is an A-static model 146-7. So I guess I'll scour the internet and see if I can find one cheap. If not, I'll have to figure something else out. Alright, pried this cartridge open, and here's what's inside of it. Here's the element here, and it's surrounded by some powdery white crap. I don't know what any of this, it's just like, I don't know. But I hope the DEA doesn't get after me again with all this white powdery crap. Alright, here's one website where I've gotten a lot of stuff in the past, turntableneedles.com, and they have a listing for this, but it's a waiting list, and they want $58 when they do get one in, so I'll look around maybe a bit more on eBay or something, but I kind of think that the search for one of these is more or less a lost cause. Okay, the voiceofmusic.com also has this Pfanstiehl P188. This is a low-cost ceramic cartridge made in Japan. It's got some good reviews from some other YouTubers as well, whom I trust. And this, let's see, this is a ceramic stereo cartridge with a diamond needle, and the best part is it's only 11 bucks. So we're going to order this, and while we're waiting for it to come in, we're going to service the turntable, and then I think we'll be on our way. Alright, here we are at the platter off. As you can see, the idler wheel here is in really good shape, actually. It's really no cracks. It's really plush feeling. Nice shape. So we won't have to bother with that. I may treat it anyway, just and clean it. We shouldn't have to do anything though. We're going to oil the motor. We're going to take the back off, the back piece off the motor as well. We're going to oil it from the top and the bottom. We will also come in here and oil any of these moving parts. We'll also oil this center spindle here, and we'll just oil that shaft and clean all the old grease off. Grease it up real good, and at least the mechanism should work a little better then. So when we get our cartridge in, we'll be ready to play records. Alright, to oil this motor, we're going to take these nuts here off, and that'll give us access to the motor shaft. There's actually 3 motor mounts. We're going to remove this one as well and just take the whole motor out. That'll give us access to the top side of this too, I think. At least I hope it will. Alright, so there's the motor apart. We'll move it off to the side over here, and we're going to concentrate on oiling here. We're going to oil inside of this piece, and there should be a little oil wick down inside of there that'll soak up some oil and keep it. So that'll be good. We'll oil this part, and then we'll take this apart and oil all that there as well. Okay, I have ordered and received a new Pfanstiehl P188D cartridge. It also has a diamond needle. These have good reviews. It's a stereo cartridge, so I'm going to probably wire it up into mono. This is also a magnetic cartridge, so I'm going to have to do something to bump up the volume. This thing only puts out maybe like half a volt or something, and the old crystal cartridge put out something more like 3 volts. So we're gonna have to do something in terms of a preamp with this thing, and I'll show you what I think I have in mind. I have a whole bunch of 2N3906 and 2N3904 transistors with which I could build a little preamp, but I think what I'm going to do on this one is use some other parts that I've gotten in the past for another project. If you'll recall, I did an Ibanez bass guitar not all that long ago, and I had to replace the chip in it, or at least I thought I had to. But I did end up replacing the chip in that thing, and this is a Texas Instrument. What is this? It's an MC1458P, and they were so cheap I just went ahead and ordered like 10 of them when I ordered the other one. So we are going to build something around this. This is an integrated circuit with actually 2 different amplifiers in it. So we're going to use this chip and build a circuit around it, and hopefully that will work for our preamp. After a few minutes of searching the net, I think I am going to use this amplifier. This will work off of a 12-volt supply, and it will use both amplifiers within this chip. We're going to need some parts. Here's a parts list. So we're going to have to find some things. Now that trimmer right there, I may not use trimmer at all. We'll see. I might. But what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to see which parts I can get off of this thing. Alright, here's just part of my electronics graveyard. This is an old TV chassis that I dug out of the trash. There's a CD player, parts of a CD player here, a DVD player, and we're going to see which of the parts that we need we can take off of these boards. That way, it'll be like recycling. Alright, I found most of the parts for this thing, and I was able to find almost all of them out of spare parts drawers and able to pull them off of old equipment. So there's only a couple of exceptions there, maybe 1 or 2 resistors, and those two orange capacitors right there. I had to had to find new, but everything else is pulls. The diodes, now those might be a bit of a problem. This thing is calling for, let's see, AA117 or OA95 germanium diodes. Let's see, here's the spec sheet for those. Alright, the AA117, 90 volts. Yeah, and also the OA90. What did that say? OA95 actually. Yeah, 90 or 100 volts is what I'm looking for. Something like this 1N270, something like that should work. So I might be able to get away with something silicon, but I don't know. This is a glass package germanium diode. That's what these are. But I'm going to try to get away with something silicon. Might make it a bit easier to find. Alright, I got this little preamp built, and it's not pretty, and I have no idea if it's going to work. But I guess there's only one way to find out. Okay, I'm installing this new board in the unit, and this board is going to need 12 volts power supply. There is a 16 volt power supply that comes off of the transformer here. Well, it's the motor slash transformer that gets it down to 16 volts, steps it down. So 16 is too high, so we're going to have to go through our own diode. This board has a diode that rectifies here, but we're going to come off the 16 volt power supply straight off of it and have our own diode on the board. So I've modified the board a little bit here, and we're seeing what dropping resistor we need to get down to 12 volts. So let's check a few resistors and get the correct one, and try to get as close to 12 volts as we can. Alright, even with no resistor at all, it's given me only about 9 volts with that particular diode right there. So I'm going to try this with 9 volts and see if it'll run with 9 volts, but you can hear all the noise right now. And all that hum is because we are not filtering at all. So we'll take a cap. This other one had a 1000 microfarad, so we'll try this. Let's get 1000 microfarad. And we'll go from, there we go. There it's filtered. And pretty quiet. So let's get this soldered in and finish building our little power supply for this board, and get it all mounted up and see if it works. Alright, here we are with the board installed and at 9 volts on the input. I guess we'll flip this thing over and see whether or not it's going to work. I'm going to start, I guess, with the trimmer about straight up in the middle. And then if we need to, we'll get back in here and adjust that. But it's good to have that flexibility with the trimmer. But yeah, let's flip this thing over and see what what it's doing or not doing. Okay, I've taken this magnetic Pfanstiehl stereo cartridge, and I've turned it into a mono cartridge by tying the positives and the negatives together. And I just basically do that with a couple of pieces of wire and bend them into shape so that we can use the existing clips. And we also have to find a way to mount this thing in here because there's really nothing to hold it. So what a couple of the options that have run through my head are to drill a hole in here and to mount it maybe on this thing which came with it and turn it upside down maybe, and I don't know, so that this thing could slide in. That's my best idea so far, but I don't know. I can kind of see some flaws in that too. namely the weight of any kind of screw that I put on this thing is gonna might mess up the tracking. I just don't know. At any rate, I'll brainstorm about this and we'll come back with some kind of solution. Alright, I've taken a little saw to this piece and I've cut downward and then I've cut across this way, and we're going to remove this bit right here so that we can do this. Okay, here's my first attempt, and it's not quite far enough, so what I think I'm going to do is cut just a little further back and then up again and remove just a little bit more material so that the part that's holding this is a little further back away from the needle and it won't obstruct play. Because see, as it is right now, it's pretty close to where the needle needs to track, so we're going to move that back out of the way. Alright, now I think that's going to be a little bit better. Let's go ahead and get this thing mounted in the tone arm and give it a listen. Okay, we're going to try to hot glue this little piece onto the tone arm. I don't know how successful this is going to be, but fingers crossed, maybe we can make this work. I do know we're going to have to be quick about it. Alright, and here's what we end up with. And this is basically just going to be a holder that remains, and if you ever want to change the cartridge again, you get the same style cartridge. You don't have to worry about ever changing this part. And this should just slip right in. Something like that. Alright, finally let's see where we're tracking at with this tone arm. Tracking about 8 grams, which is more than this thing should track at, but you know, we can only do so much. Probably a little less hot glue I think the next time, and that would get the tracking down a little bit. But we're okay. I mean, this thing is not hi-fi or anything like that anyway. So, and 8 grams isn't bad. So we're not going to sweat that too much. And yeah, so I think we're good.
The water shone clear and gay. The sun was warm and bright. He slowly raised his slender neck and spread his wings, so great, so white. And as he sailed into the day, the children marveled at the sight. Ah,